Best from Reddit. People with autism, what did you think was normal until a neurotypical person told you otherwise? We didn't know I had autism when I was a kid. My best friend in the whole entire world was an autistic girl in the grade below me. And when we became inseparable, my mom proactively explained that autistic people like to repeat things over and over and are uncomfortable making eye contact. I privately thought that autistic people should just do the repeating inside their heads like everyone else does, and was horrified and deeply sympathetic that eye contact was even worse and more unpleasant for them than it already is. I am one oblivious fuck. I always thought it was completely normal to rehearse conversations in my head before having them. Like, full-on scripts for every possible response. When someone finally told me most people don't do that, I was honestly shocked. It blew my mind that people just wing social interactions without a mental rehearsal. Still can't imagine how that works. I overheard my mom having a conversation when I was 14, and she said I never asked my friends to hang out first. She was right. I had never approached someone to be friends with me. And I never contacted my friends to chat or hang out. It didn't occur to me that I should until then. I made a point of going out of my way to talk to people after that because I didn't want to be seen as a weirdo. But yeah, I still forget that I'm supposed to want to talk to my friends. Thought it was normal to have to learn human behavior and reactions. I had a journal as a kid where I wrote down what certain actions, facial expressions, body language meant, showed it to a friend who said, duh, everyone knows that, like you're born knowing. Needing people to have factually correct information. I was in my late 30s before I understood that it was considered rude by neurotypical people to correct their incorrect beliefs about the world. If something I believe to be true is wrong, then I would like to be corrected, with reliable sources, of course. Who wants to walk around scientifically incorrect information? I'm neurotypical, but my wife is autistic, and we had a dinner party with her work friends. They work at an elementary school. The other women said that teaching special ed is hard, because they have to learn to communicate with the kids. She said teaching special ed is easy for her, and she finds it harder to communicate with general ed kids. Last month, my friend group shared a cartoon picture of a room with like 15 different chairs, an interviewer sitting at the front of the room, and a text that read, "You will be having a job interview in this room. Where are you sitting?" Everyone else chose their seats with reasons like, that seat looks comfy, that seat looks fun, that seat is furthest away from the interviewer, and there's me. I should not make my seat taller than the interviewer, or it is disrespectful. So they is eliminated. Sitting on a small stool or a futon or mat when the interviewer is sitting on a chair doesn't seem professional either, so B and C are eliminated. In a work setting, I should not choose seats that are non-professional, so no swing seats or sofas. When the interviewer is sitting in a regular chair, sitting in a grand chair resembling a throne is not respectful, so that one goes out too. Now the seats left were D, E, F, and G, but in an interview I shouldn't be sitting too far away from the interviewer or I will look not eager enough to get the job, so G is eliminated. Between D, E, and F, only 2 chairs have a back, and I will need to occasionally lean back and relax to release tension and show confidence because sitting upright in a backless stool makes me look too tense, so E is eliminated. Between D and F, D is padded and F is not, so if I go for comfy, I have to choose D, but the interviewer isn't sitting in a padded chair either, so I will choose F to show I am not a squeamish or delicate person. Silence in the group chat, then someone said, "You don't have to actually think so rationally about this." Honestly, this is hard to answer because I just always knew something was wrong with me, and I assumed from my place of non-existent self-esteem that if in doubt, everything I do is probably wrong, and especially if no one else is also doing it. I never thought anything I did was normal, and then found it wasn't later. I do have a long list of things that I knew were inexplicably weird, that I now almost daily go, oh, and understand properly now, though. What I would cite as interesting examples of finding things out from an NT, there would be things like only being explicitly told in my 30s that when someone says, let's catch up for coffee, that I do know in fact need to decline or stress out and try to hide the fact that I don't drink coffee, because they are using it as a generic phrase, and any or even no beverage, whilst they have theirs, will do just as well. I also had to be told that it's a good method specifically for having a more delicate or difficult talk with a coworker without starting it out in a more intimidating manner that they can then potentially dodge or get defensive from. Hey, let's go catch up for a coffee sometime soon, is a lot easier to get them somewhere quiet to say something important but hard to say, than just marching up to them in an office and going, hey, we need to talk about XYZ thing that is awkward. Not that I was doing that either, I just gave up and figured it was impossible to talk to them about it without being a bad person. I didn't know that it's weird to leave your eyes open when they wash your hair at a salon until a year or two ago. I had never considered how unsettling it would be to see someone staring blankly at the ceiling with their head in a sink, especially from the hairstylist's perspective. I'm not diagnosed, but in the process of seeking assessment, so take with a grain of salt. But I think a big thing was how many things I pushed through or adapt to, and I assume everyone else started doing that when they grew up. So I've now been asking people in my life specific things, and they're like, no. Like for routines being disturbed, I listed some examples as that's normal, everybody adapts to that, right? And then I found out it doesn't matter to most people whether they brush their hair or teeth first, and having your roommate hog the bathroom and force you to do stuff out of order doesn't upset people as long as they're ready in time. So yeah, don't know if it's autism specifically, but a lot of small things I figured people adapted to and hid their discomfort for, they're just not uncomfortable in the first place. Providing helpful advice to someone in a conversation when they talk about going somewhere new or doing something new or dealing with an issue they have, it's really tough to just shut up because advice is showing you I care. Certain forms of kindness and love are restricted to romantic relationships. I'm not talking about appropriateness and respecting people's boundaries. That's something I understand needs to have nuance and complexity. I mean, I like to take care of people and make them feel safe and seen and confident in themselves because I think people deserve to be happy. So I give heartfelt compliments and go out of my way to do nice gestures for people, and I listen to their troubles and give sincere empathy. I like telling people I love them and giving them handcrafted gifts. If I'm really close with someone, I might give them kisses on the forehead in a familial way and hold their hand. I put genuine effort into people because I just want to. I've had a lot of friends turn around and ask me out, and I was so confused as to why it kept happening. It was only until a neurotypical explained that emotional intimacy of that level was considered strictly romantic for a lot of people that I realized neurotypicals have a lot of rules around love. For me, friendships and romantic relationships are parallel, they're just different kinds of relationships. Both can be intense. But for others, most romantic relationships are a step up from friendships, so if a friendship becomes too intimate, it becomes romantic. It's frustrating because I just like taking care of people and want quality friendships, but not a lot of people function the same way as me. It also means that whenever I do successfully find a friend who views platonic love the same way I do, other people insist I must have feelings for them, and can't fathom just liking someone as a person without ulterior motives. I really struggle with greetings and goodbyes, telling someone good morning before you just ask them or tell them what you need, ending a phone call with goodbye instead of just hanging up when the information is exchanged. It's difficult, and I didn't realize it comes off as rude until my 20s when a manager at work got upset that I never greeted them. I've practiced so much and still mess it up. Nothing. I don't inherently believe something just because someone tells me I'm also autistic enough to understand relativity and context. So the suggestion that something is inherently normal without referencing a specific culture or society is usually wrong on its face. For example, kneeling for meals is normal in China, not normal in the US, so the suggestion that it is or isn't normal is wrong, unless you specify the culture or context in which you're making that statement. As for the actual question, I thought it was normal to point out obvious flaws in reasoning, but apparently that can be considered rude. Personally, I think it's more rude to assert one's opinions as inherent fact devoid of relative context. I don't like my food touching. If I have a plate of various foods, I try to keep them separate so I don't taste the other foods mixed together. I feel it corrupts or overtakes some other foods. Especially if I'm eating something with sauce, I do not like my vegetables touching it. I also do not like foods like lasagna or casseroles because it's just too much mixed together. I like my burgers with just cheese and I chew the bread on one side and the meat on the other. Apparently most people don't have this problem and people have told me it adds to the flavor. I don't buy it. I always assume that when people complain, they would actually be grateful to hear genuine solutions or welcome someone who would help walk them through their problem. When I was young, people said I was a good listener and I prided myself on that. Then in my adulthood, people started saying I was hard to talk to, when I assumed I was being extremely straightforward and supportive. I couldn't understand it for a long time. I mean, I spent whole years just trying to study and actively practicing how people converse and what people were receptive to and what pushed them away. When I finally learned to just let people complain in my general direction while just nodding in agreement, people started to like me more. And I began to respect people way less. Then I developed depression. I can talk to people, but now it feels very performative and empty, since there seems to be very little tolerance for actual vulnerability. Most neurotypical people I talk to just want to project their reality outward and have it validated, and nothing more. If you step on their egos in any way, they think you're picking a fight. Apparently instantly being filled with rage when wearing boots and winter clothes is not normal. Just the boots is fine. Just the coat is fine. But boots and the coat? Instant crash out. My brain apparently has issue with the combination. In high school, when the number 69 started showing up everywhere, I didn't know why, a friend informed me it was a sexual position. I thought there was a standardized list of 100 sexual positions that everyone had already memorized, and the 69th position was the best one. Remembering people faces, like y'all just really out here looking at people and making contact, feels like not wearing a condom in a dirty way. If you liked this video, don't forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave comments with your stories below. Watch our other videos, and thanks for watching.